To introduce our first speaker today, I'd like to welcome David Washington.
Thank you, Keith. It's an honor to introduce this lady. And I was thinking about what to say about her. I met her in the mid-2000s, and we've traveled around the country talking to different organizations and agencies about how to practice trauma-informed care. And I thought this morning, the word that comes to mind to me is hero. And when I think about it as a male survivor, I don't frequently hear men refer to women as heroes. But this lady clearly exemplifies all the characteristics of someone who is a hero. Her compassion, her fortitude, her love of the service that she does throughout the world around trauma-informed care and reaching those who are suffering, there are no words to explain that. So without ado, I'd like to give you Miss Tonier Cain.
Thank you. I am pleased to be here. It's always good when I can come somewhere so I can jump in my car instead of jumping on a flight, especially since they're having all these issues with flights, right? So it's always good that I'm able to get in the car. So yesterday, they decided that they would provide me a room. Now, I don't know if they were providing me a room because they wanted me to rest the night before, or they just want to make sure I get here, okay? So I drove yesterday, and I was like, the only thing I had in my mind the whole time was, Hagerstown has an outlet. So that was my motivation to get here the night before, okay? No, really, seriously, I keep it real. So I'm in the car, I'm in the car, and I'm thinking, outlet. So I get there, and I'm driving up, and I see the exit for the outlet. Success. So I go there, oh my goodness, they have a Longhorn? Okay. I can shop and eat, my two favorite things. So I'm shopping for my granddaughter, and I get a call I call my daughter because I know she's on her way home from school. And I said, honey, how'd it go today? How was school, homework, blah, blah, blah. And she said, Mom, well, we have a presentation tonight at school for parents. I'm like, who parents? I said, honey, you sure it's tonight? She said, Mommy, didn't you read the email? And I was like, apparently not, lady. So I jump in my car, I check into the hotel, and I jump. You guys really want me to be transparent and be honest? So usually people put like all these gifts in my hotel room when I travel. So I checked in my room, knowing I probably won't spend the night, but I want to go see if I had gifts there. No, really, seriously. Unfortunately, I did not. So I check in, I run in there, and I check in the room, I'm looking around for the big basket that's usually there. There's no big basket. So I said, okay, they must be on the tight budget. So I leave back out, and I drive to Annapolis. I go to my daughter goes to a private school there, the Key School. And I go down there, and I go to the performance, and then I wake up 4 o'clock this morning so I can be able to get dressed and get up here. So, needless to say, I didn't get to shop in the outlet. I had to take the salad home from Longhorn, and we all know how salad travels, right? And there was no basket in my hotel room. But I'm here, okay? But, so, you know, they didn't ask me to come here to tell you about my professional life mostly. Mostly people ask me to come to get those that are providing services, get you guys motivated, get that pilot lit under you again. You know, I grew up in the projects. Well, excuse me, the political correct term today is urban communities. So I grew up in the projects, and we used to have this stove where every once in a while, my mother had to take the newspaper and do like this and light it and open up the little metal bin and go under there hoping she don't blow us up. The part I didn't get is why she always asked me to come and help her. You know what I mean? you're going to blow up, lady, can I just stay in the back and you just blow up out, somebody got to be here with the kids. But she always had to do that. Every once in a while, that pilot will go out. So that's why I'm here today, to help light that pilot, to help get you guys fired up, and get you excited about the work you do. I don't know why you signed up to do what you do. I wouldn't. I'm being real. I'm serious. I would not sign up to work with somebody like me. No, I'm telling you. But I hear that most of you have to go through years of school, right, to become the professionals you are. And so you got to go all these years of school. You graduate high school. You go off to college. And I hear the rumors about college. People on their deathbed, instead of asking God for forgiveness, they want forgiveness of their student loans, right? So you got to pay for college. You got to do all these things to get the degree to become the person you are today, right? And how exciting it must was when you got that phone call after interviewing for your position. You got that phone call, and it's like, you are the best candidate. You got the job. And you get excited, right? Especially the women, you want to get your hair done, your nails done. You go buy a whole new outfit. You lay it out the night before, make sure it's nice and pressed. You gas up your car the night before so you make sure you don't run out of gas on that first day of work because you don't want to be late, right? But then years later, your alarm clock goes off and you be like, I wonder how many sick days I have. You go from, I want to go out to change the world to, I hope somebody carjacked me today. So I can have a good excuse not to go into that office, right? Not to go into that work. You're taking the picture of the third flat tire of the week. With the knife behind your back. You're sending it off to your supervisor with the subject line, unreal, another flat tire. I'm going to be late or may not make it at all because I don't have AAA because you don't pay me enough to get AAA. And then when you go to work, they tell you you must be professional, right? They tell you must leave your personal life outside the door. That's not even humanly possible. It's not. And then you got to deal with that coworker. You know the coworker. Y'all know the one that you still trying to figure out how in the world did they get this job? Who do they know? And then some of y'all like, who did they do? So you go through all that. I don't know why you signed up to do what you do because I know a lot of you are not making a lot of money in this. I know it's not a lot of Ferraris outside. Nobody's getting rich off of these positions. So I don't know why you signed up, but I can say this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you. Because the fact is this, if we could have done it without you, we would have. So thank you for whatever reason that keep you waking, get you up, and keep you moving and get you into that office to work with people like me. All I can say is God bless you and thank you. Now my presentation is based on my own life experience. It's based on a film about my life. How many of you seen my film? Really? I mean, I'm a Marylander and everybody hadn't seen the film, really? How many of you seen Avengers? How many of you seen Black Panther? No. Ron County, no, I'm joking. Oh, we're going to have fun this morning. We're going to have fun this morning. We're going to keep it real. So, this is based on the book about my life, the film, and the stories that I created to make the point that I'm trying to make. I'm not here to give you a whole bunch of excuses why I made the bad decision I made as an adult. I'm not. What I'm here to do is try to get you to understand what motivated those bad decisions. So I'm going to take you back to my childhood and bring you up to where I'm at today and what it took for me to become the healed, successful person I am today. At age 9, I had created a belief system that I am nothing, I never amount to anything. And this is just how it's going to be for me. See, I knew that some people live in these wonderful houses on the hill and have these families that hug them, love them, and protect them. And some have just lived in an alcoholic, abusive household like mine, and that's where you stay. At age 9, I had about 7.5 brothers and sisters. I always say half because my mother was always pregnant. I never really knew where babies came from. I just knew she kept bringing them home. She would be like, I'm taking the trash out. And then 2 days later, she would come back with a baby in her arms. Don't know what's going on at that dumpster lady. But you might want to stay away from that for a couple of years. So whatever her issues were, that would not allow her to be nurturing and loving and protected as mothers should be. It kind of led me to be the parent to parental guidance in the household, to take care of and protect my sisters the best way I could. You know, I didn't always protect them, but I tried. Molestation and my sexual assault started very early on in my life. And I never really understood how a grown man whose body was so big that it actually covered my child's body would find any pleasure out of hurting me. But because I had that belief system that I young enough that I never amount to anything, and this is just how it's going to be for me, there was something else that was birthed out of that. And it was like, okay, maybe just bad things happen to bad people. And if this very, very bad thing is happening to me, that must mean I'm a very, very bad child. So I wasn't going to tell anybody, and I kept in a very dark, deep place inside of me and wouldn't tell anybody. Unable to go to school a lot because I had to stay home and take care of my sisters and brothers when my mother didn't return home at night at time. But after missing 2 and 3 days at a time, I would always go back to school, always miss lessons, always passed off to the next grade, but nobody ever asked why. Why are you missing so many days, little girls? There was any communication with my mother, there was no consequence, because they always just kind of passed me off to the next grade. I also started drinking alcohol very early on, around age 9 when the molestation started. You know, when you have a parent that's an alcoholic, if there's nothing else in the household, there's alcohol. And I used to wander into the living room after those last night's party, and I would find these half-filled cups sitting around. And what I realized was when I drank these half-filled cups, when my mother smacked me down and called me names, it just didn't seem to feel as bad anymore. And when the men came at night, it didn't feel as shameful or as painful. So I would seek out these half-filled cups to help me to deal with my reality, even as young as age 9. This is a photograph of me at age 9. I remember, I said, oh. Keep that all, because you some more pictures coming later on, and you're going to be like, ew. I remember getting ready for this photograph. I remember washing out this red and white connected polyester shirt with a bar of Irish soap, trying to get it clean, after picking it up off of a pile of dirty clothes that we also use for toilet paper at times. I remember washing that. And I remember getting a straight part to make these 2 perfect ponytails for, we call it a free picture day, because the next day was free picture day, because you know a time back, you could actually go to school and take your pictures, and they would actually send the whole packet of pictures home in hopes that somebody's going to pay. Well, my mother one of the people that messed that up for us, because today when my daughter get her picture taken, they want their money before or on the day, or your child like, it's just simple as that. But back then there was a little trust there. So I was trying to get these straight ponytails for this perfect picture day. And brushing my teeth. I brushed my teeth a lot, not because my mother told me brush in the morning, after every meal at night, or because she would take us to the dentist regularly. She's never taken us to the dentist. I brushed my teeth a lot because in my mind, I kept thinking, if only I could brush away the smell of the men. When they used to force themselves in my mouth, around my face. If only I could brush the smell. See, the smell never, ever seemed to go away. No matter how much I washed my face, no matter how much I brushed my teeth, the smell was always seemed to be there. So I would brush and brush and brush. But I didn't know how to take care of myself otherwise. So my nickname in elementary school was Pissy Neen, because I always smelled like urine. Well, I had a whole bunch of babies that slept on top of me. And somebody always peed on me. And also, I was a bed wetter because you know what? It was safer sometimes to lay in the bed and pee myself when I heard that man that my mother was partying with, that same voice that I knew that may come looking for me later on, and I didn't want to give him the opportunity to run into me in the hallway trying to go to the bathroom. So I would just lay there and pee on myself. At age 11, there was a complaint against my mother to the Department of Social Service. And the complaint was something along these lines. We were never allowed to come outside and play. We were always filthy. We missed a lot of days out of school. She was getting evicted all the time. So the Department of Social Service sent out a social worker to follow up on the complaint. And she came in and she seen the filthy conditions we were living in, and she immediately removed us from the household. And as you good folks know, there's not one family sitting around waiting to foster so many kids together, right? So we were separated, and I was devastated. You see, the Child Protective Service Department was created to design to help the child, protect the child physically. But it does very little to protect the child mentally and emotionally. When this lady pulled up, this total stranger, and she told me I had to come with her, she put me in a little white car, and the only thing she could seem to tell an 11-year-old girl was, don't cry, it's going to be okay, don't cry. What's going to be okay? What are you talking about? What's going on? I don't know why it was so difficult for her to say, I know that you're scared. I would be too. I know that you're confused. I would be too. I'm taking you to a family that you probably never met before. This family we believe, is the best family to take care of you while we try to get your mother some help and do our very best to bring you back together as a family. I know that you're going to miss your sister and brother. I can try to get them on the phone for you. That's it. But instead, she said, don't cry. It's going to be okay, and usher me into this stranger's home. And for me, the unfamiliar was so much more scarier than the familiar. See, in my familiar world, I knew how to protect myself. I knew how to try to protect myself. See, when I heard that man's voice that I knew would come looking for me, I knew how to put the dresser against the door and buckle down and get around my brothers and sisters and grab them up in my arms as best I could. I knew how to do that. But you put me in a situation where I know nothing and I have no defenses. And I'm scared and I'm terrified. And the next day they sent me to school like nothing ever happened. And they start to get reports like this. She's unable to focus. She doesn't keep up well. We think she just may have some learning disability. No, you just turned the only world I had upside down. And I don't know anything, and I'm terrified. We must do a better job when we're separating kids from their family. If we're going to work hard to protect them physically, we must match that with protecting them emotionally and mentally. Fortunately, I was in foster care for a short period of time, and we went to court, and different family members came and chose each and every one of us and took us off to their family homes. My older cousin chose me, and for the first time in my life, I felt a little safe because nobody was touching me and nobody was teasing me. She fed me every day. She showed me how to wash myself and clean myself. And for the first time in my life, I felt like there was hope, and I was living with more hope than fear for the first time in my life. So much that I even joined the drama club. I promise you, there's more black people in Annapolis. But I'm probably preaching to the wrong county about that. But yeah, I think I was typecast, really. I think they up there. But no, really. I felt confident enough to join the drama club and be a part of the school play, and it was amazing for me. And they became my little family at school. You know, I gave them some flavor. But it wasn't long after that, at age 14, my mother came back and she told me that she loved me and she wanted me to come and live with her again. She said she loved me. Up until that point in my life, I could not remember my mother ever telling me that. So I didn't hesitate. I ran upstairs, I packed my thing, and off into the sunset I went with my mother, because what children do is love unconditionally. That's what we do, right? It doesn't matter. We want to be with the people that we love, and we want them to love us. So I ran upstairs, I packed my things, and off into the sunset I went with my mother. Well, by then she had 3 more kids. Social Service had given her even more benefits in another public housing apartment. Within a week, she beat me in the street in front of the whole community. I realized she didn't want me back because she loved me. She needed a babysitter. So how do I live with her or without her? I knew I couldn't do either one. And somewhere in my life, I remember somebody saying, I don't remember who or when, but I remember somebody saying, if you take a bottle of pills, you'll die. Well, in hopes of dying, I took a whole bottle of pills, and when I woke up in the emergency room, I seen a doctor. They were putting the tube down my throat to get the charcoal in my stomach. They were talking to my mother off to the side and did not ask me what happened and why. They talked to her, and she convinced them that I took an accidental overdose on my own prescribed medication, and I was released right back into her care. Well, she didn't know what to do with me at that point, so she sent me to live with her sister, my Aunt Carol, who did the very best she could. But by age 15, I was an alcoholic. In order for me to stay in school, I had to take gin and juice and sip on it all day long. And it also still gave my mother some control over my life. So when this man that was 8 years older than me, he was well into his 20s, and I was still a young teenager, he thought I was cute and wouldn't mind making me his wife. And he befriended my mother by giving her all the alcohol she could possibly drink. So when it came time for her to sign the marriage license on my behalf, she signed it. I couldn't sign it. I was a minor. She signed it. I married him. I moved into his house. She moved in with my 3 little sisters because she had been evicted again and didn't have no place to live. Okay. Made my mother be proud of me. I'm older now, and I can deal with the abuse if she brings it. But maybe this older man can protect me from all the other bad men of the world. But this knight in shining armor, there were times when I would see the headlights from this pickup truck shining through the living room window. I was often frozen in fear because I didn't know if this was going to be the night that he decided to come and take his finger and swipe it across the furniture, because what I knew was this: if there was dust on his finger, he was going to stomp me down until he seen blood, because what he needed to know was, what was I doing all day long that I could not dust his house? So there was many beatings in that regard. So when someone came to me around age 19, and say, try this, it was crack cocaine. It was the answer to all of my problems. See, I could just use this drug and numb out anything that I ever remember happening to me. See, remember that smell that I couldn't get rid of? When I did this drug, that smell went away. But over time, there was a movie that had developed in my mind. You know the movie of the big man that covered a child's body, and while he was hurting me, he would stick his elbow in my mouth so I wouldn't scream. So that movie that played over and over, when I did this drug, the movie stopped. Because I knew this: if I didn't find something to help me to deal with it, I was going to blow my brains out. But unfortunately, in order to obtain this drug that helped me to deal with my reality, I had to do some things. So I stand before you this morning with a total of 83 arrests and 66 convictions. They told me I was going to spend the rest of my life going in and out of prison, or I was going to die in the streets. When I would go to the facility, they said, see you when you come back, Cain. Because I always came back. They said, welcome home. You want your old room? You want your rubber cell? Nobody ever said, I hope you give yourself a break. I hope you make it. I still didn't understand what's wrong with me, because people kept calling me crazy. They kept calling me Crazy Neen. So I would check myself into our voluntary mental health unit at our county hospital. And it depended upon what day of the week it was. If I went on a Wednesday, I was schizophrenic. If I went on a Monday, I was bipolar. If I went on a Tuesday, borderline Tuesdays. They will always give me a different diagnosis. But it was always the same psychiatrist, okay? And I would ask him, I said, well, how do you know? And I would explain to him that I had been up for 7 days straight smoking crack cocaine. Well, see, they never allowed the street narcotics to get out of my system before they truly gave me assessment or evaluation. But I guess you get what you pay for, because I ain't have no insurance. You know, they didn't have open enrollment. Okay, I know that's not a funny joke. That was funny in 2016. It's just not, it doesn't fly now. My very first mugshot. So somebody said, uh-oh, you still didn't say ill yet though, right? And you went from, oh, to uh-oh. Stay tuned, stand by. My very first shot. I compared this to a young lady I've been mentoring over the last few years. I have a good relationship with the police department now. We real cool now. As a matter of fact, one of the detectives, he retired now. We retired at the same time. He retired. We became very good friends. And the reason why we became very good friends is because he was so amazed by the advocacy work that I was doing in the streets where I came from. Pretty much I just went back to the streets where I did all my dirt, reaching down, helping somebody up, trying to mentor women off the streets. He was amazed by that. The reason why he was so amazed by that was because when he was a street officer, he was one of the officers that used to arrest me all the time. So he knew my history. So he would always call me up to let me know if something happened to one of the women that I was trying to mentor off the streets or whatever. So he called me up one night, 11:45 p.m. Let me just say this. If you guys know somebody that used to smoke crack and they don't smoke crack anymore, 11:45 is considered late, okay? I'm not up smoking anymore. You don't call me quarter midnight. You know when somebody calls you, you pissed off that they calling you, and you want them to know that you pissed off by you answered your phone, hello? I'm like, hello, like they can see your head or something. Hello? He was like, hey, Tony, I want to know if you can come down to the detention center at the booking unit. And I was like, hell no. You just don't call somebody up and be like, come to jail. Who does that? Is the budget really that bad now where y'all just calling people up on the phone? We talking about love. Gas prices high this week. Chief only letting us take out 2 cars tonight. You know we're gonna get you anyway eventually. So why don't you jump on the public bus and come on and turn yourself in. Oh, by the way, Tonier, we ran out of film, so if you got a picture of yourself, bring that too. I'm gonna keep it real with you folks here. I have never been that type of person that turned themselves in or even really show up to court. It just never seemed like a win-win situation. But he goes on and he says, no, Tony, we just arrested Vicky. I know you've been trying to mentor her off the street. We just arrested her on a major charge. She's very distressed. Won't you come down and give her support? So I get up, I get dressed, I get down to the detention center. I go back in the security unit, and I'm watching them process her. She was crying so much they had to fingerprint her, and she was fainting. No, she was faking the fainting, because you know when we get arrested, we know how to faint on a drop of a dime. We actually know how to stop our vital signs and everything, hoping that this is going to change their minds. It never works. I tried it a million times. Don't try it at home, okay? So I'm watching her take these officers through all this, and I think back to my very first major charge. I didn't seem distressed at all. I said, maybe I thought somebody would finally ask me, what happened to you? Instead of what is wrong with you, why you can't get it together. Maybe they'll understand. Maybe I'll get the help I need. Now I want to talk to you briefly about being re-traumatized in the multiple systems I've been in. Up until this point in my life, I had already experienced multiple levels of trauma. I just want to talk to you a little bit about how easy it is to re-trauma somebody in their systems of care. But I do want to say this first. This is my own personal story. This is not a personal attack for any of you guys in your profession, okay? Okay? Good? Wait a minute. Unless you was a provider 15 years ago in Anne Arundel County, we just may have some issues. Anybody with providing services besides David on down there? All right. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland. I always lived in Annapolis. Yes, Annapolis had projects. I always lived in Annapolis, Maryland. As you know, it's a very small town. We had one police department. We were an inch above Mayberry. So the officers that arrested me all the time knew everything about me. It was the same officers all the time. So I had made a deal with these two guys once, and the deal was this: if you give me this certain amount of cocaine, crack cocaine, I'll perform these sexual acts for you. So when we finally walked around the abandoned building where we were supposed to play all this out, they cornered me and said, "You're going to do this, this, and this, and we're not going to give you anything." So after they made me do everything they said I could do, they beat me, they stomped me, they spit on me, and they left me there. So when I was finally able to get up and come from around the building, I seen a police officer just standing against his cruiser, just checking out the area. And when he seen me, and I was beat up very badly, I was bloody, I was beat up very, when he seen me, he said, "Well, Miss Cain, we've been looking for you." Because I had a failure to appear warrant for something. And I'm walking over to him as best I can, and I turned slightly to point out the two guys that just did this to me. He grabbed my arm, threw it around my back, threw me against the police cruiser, and it broke my nose over top of everything else because he thought I was resisting arrest. I said people really couldn't get past the way that I looked or the way that I smelled or what they believed. Not only just a police officer, but community members and family members. All they know, she's a homeless crackhead prostitute. That's all. However, I was a 30-day repeat offender. Every 30 days, I would either go in a correction, mental health, or substance abuse program. This one particular time, I went into the detention center. I informed them that I was pregnant. They said, "Yeah, Cain, whatever." They put me in a holding cell. When the nurse came down to do the medical intake, she took my urine sample, took the two ladies in the holding cell with me. I don't know why she did, but she did. A day or so later, she came back and told me I was not pregnant, but I had a urinary tract infection. I said, "Miss, I know I'm pregnant." She said, "We know what we're doing." So they sent me to see the doctor who prescribed me a narcotic pain reliever and the antibiotics for this infection that they insist I had. Well, at this time, in this institution, if you refuse medication, if they come around and you refuse it twice, they put you in what they call isolation until you stabilize on your medication. We call it the hold. And I didn't want to go in the hole, so I took the pain medication and antibiotics every 4 hours when they came around. I had to get up for court one morning. I was in pain all night long. When I went to use the bathroom, my baby head came out. I was 5 months pregnant. They shackled me down to the gurney and threw a sheet on the bottom half of my body to cover up that my deceased baby was stuck between my legs while they tried to figure out who was going to escort me to the emergency room. I tell you this awful story for one reason only. So often we see people come back and forth into our system. We see people back and forth on our caseload and our programs. But we at times so easily and so rarely make up our minds that everything they say is a lie. We manipulate, we seeking some attention. Now for one moment in this whole facility, medical department, did somebody say, "Hold up. Maybe this woman knows more about her body than we're allowing her. Maybe we should retest her just to make sure we didn't mix up the urine and get this wrong." It could have been prevented. Here where it may get a little tricky. Are there any public defenders here? Anybody was a public defender in their past life? Anybody want to be one in their next life? Where I come from, David, let me use your folder. Thank you. From my experience with public defender, we call them public pretenders. Because if you was incarcerated in some kind of program leading up to your court date, you didn't see them until the morning of court. And they will always come to court with a whole bunch of files. Nothing, absolutely nothing would be in your file. But on the front, on those lines, it will have your name, your case number, your name, your age, your race, and how many kids you have. That is your defense no matter what your crime is. Around my 40th arrest, the state was reading off my record. Possession, prostitution, possession, paraphernalia, prostitution, violation, prostitution, violation, trespassing, violation, prostitution, paraphernalia, possession. So the judge says, does this young lady have a drug problem? My public defender. Do you have a drug problem? I'm like, yeah. He must have went to the same school I went to. So they court ordered me to a 28-day substance abuse program. 28 days was just enough time for me to get some rest and figure out how I was going to get high again. But since that first court order 28-day program, I've been court ordered to 31 other 28-day programs. And they all did the same thing. They all did the same thing. It would take them a whole week to tell us what we better not do. Rules and regulations. They had this one rule where I didn't understand. I had a problem with this one rule. And the rule was this. When you arrive to the program, they buddy you up with somebody in the program. So it was called the buddy system. The reason why I had a problem with this is because I would look at the counselor and say, hold up, she smoked crack too. So at the end of the night, me and her to talk each other into getting high. I jump over the fence and pull her over. So you're going to lose 2 instead of 1. Around the second week, they would give us a drug education course. Yeah. They want us to know the natural names of the drugs that we're putting in our system. Yeah. Some of them would even tell us where they originated from. Around the third week, they would show us pictures of unsafe homemade utensils. Please stay on the word unsafe, because nothing is more important to addicts than safety. Homemade utensils that are not safe, that you should not use to get the drugs in your system because they're just not safe. And finally, before you graduate, they tell you how it affects your brain. I don't need to know what it used to be called. I need to know what it's called now. See, when that smell comes back, I feel like it's going to choke the life out of me. I need to go get this drug and go get it quickly, because if I don't, I'm probably going to kill myself. Know how to get it in my system safely. That's why I'm in your drug program. And who cares how it affects my life? Somebody tell me how to live a different life, how not come back and forth into the system. But this first court order program, I felt like there was a glimmer of hope. Because when I arrived there, I seen people that they look good, they sounded good. I got excited. I'm like, oh, if you can help them, you probably can help me. So they told me I had to see the intake worker. So the intake worker, this lady stuck her head out of her office. She said, Miss Cain. And she waved me in the office. And this is what she did. She pulled out my file. She said, Miss Cain, have you ever been a victim of domestic violence? I said, lady, every man I had went upside my head. She said, is that a yes? Just check the box. And then she said, well, Miss Cain, have you ever been a victim of sexual abuse? I said, lady, I've been beat and raped so many times, I stopped counting them. She checked the box off on this one-page form, stapled it inside the file, filed away. See it again. After all the trauma that I told this woman I was exposed to by the hands of men all of my life, I was assigned a male counselor. Let me say this. If you don't get anything else out of my presentation, please get what I'm about to tell you. You guys ready? Come on, you ready? Because don't make me to become the minister I really am and be like, tap your neighbor, tap your neighbor. And I can go there. If you don't see the anointing now, you will by the end of my presentation. Trust me, you will see more of God and less of me by the end of this. I promise you that. When we come into your programs, when we come into your facility, when we land on your caseload, guess what? We come with the hopes that you know what you're doing. Half of us don't have the willingness or the desire to wake up morning after morning. So when we hobble through those doors, broken in spirit and mind and body, we expect you to know what you're doing. So if you tell me that this man is the best thing for me, who am I to argue? You're the experts. So I was compliant in this program. Wherever my buddy went, I went to. I graduated this program. The first time I ever graduated anything in my life, and I felt proud. I did. And even though they deposited me right back into my old drug-infested neighborhood, I still stayed clean that first week. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't wait to get back to aftercare that Sunday. And they kept saying, keep coming back. Don't stop before the miracle. And it felt good. It did. I went back home. Stayed clean another week. I was able to get to aftercare, but I couldn't get a ride from aftercare. My drug counselor, who I was assigned to, in this program I was court-ordered in, he offered me a ride home, but he made a pit stop to pull me out of his car and push me down. He raped me from behind. And when he pulled me up by my hair, he says, no sense telling anybody, just a crackhead, just a prostitute, nothing. He threw me to the ground. I'm not making excuses for this man because since I've been in my healing process, he has been held accountable for his actions. What I'm saying is maybe when we start to understand the prevalence of trauma, up to 92% of incarcerated girls has been exposed to emotional, physical, sexual abuse. Given my answer to that one-page form, just maybe, a male counselor wasn't the best thing for me after all. It could have been prevented. I was the angry, out-of-control inmate in shoe with more medicine mental patient. That was me. I can tell you one of the worst things you can do to somebody that's a victim of neglect and abandonment is put them in a room, shut the door, and walk away. See, my issue with my mother was always triggered, and nobody is helping me to identify, address, or treat my trauma. So I do the only thing that Tonier Cain knows to do, and what Tonier Cain knows to do is to tap into my survival mode, and my survival mode has always told me to fight, because I didn't know there was any other way. So when someone came with that tray of food, that tray of medication, I would smack it out of my face. And now they're on a walkie-talkie calling the code. People are running towards me, usually men, to restrain me, to hold me down. Do you truly understand what I'm saying? They were restraining a rape victim, somebody that has been held down and raped multiple times, causing more traumas, layers and layers and layers of it, taking me even further away from the possibility of healing or recovery. Not intentionally, I know, but because we don't understand the impact of trauma, we sometimes, most times, cause more harm. Always over-medicated. And truthfully, I'm going to keep it real. I actually appreciated the free high. I did. I wasn't one of them people like, I don't want your medicine. I'm like, where's the nurse? She's late. She's late. But unfortunately for me, for bipolar disorder, they would give me Thorazine, Ativan, and lithium at the same time. Somebody please help me hold my head up so I can like the drool out the corner of my mouth. Again, making it impossible for me to heal. As a result of rapes or prostitution, I was conceiving my children. I never knew if my children's father was my rapist or my trick. And rightfully so, they were removed from my care. Rightfully so. But they were my children, and I still tried to have some kind of relationship with them. I went to the Department of Social Services who they had taken 2 kids at the same time. And I said, can I see my kids? And she was like, no, Miss Cain. She said, you have lost parental rights. We had petitioned for adoption and we found a family. I said, can I just see them one last time? She said, you know what, I'll let you see your kids one last time. She told me when to come back. And that I decided that morning that I would not stand in front of the liquor store like I usually do at 6 o'clock in the morning to try to beg for change so I can get a pint of wine, because I was a wino at that point. I decided not to do that because I didn't want to smell like alcohol. And I snuck into the gas station bathroom. I put the soap in my mouth and I tried to wash underneath my arms the best I could so I wouldn't smell bad, because in my mind I was thinking, if only I could put their heartbeat against mine, they could somehow feel my love. That's under all the stuff. If only I get the opportunity to put their heartbeat against mine and whisper in their little ears, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If only I have the opportunity. So I arrived there, and she put me in a room, and the light came on the other side of a one-way mirror. She allowed me to watch my children with their new mother, but they couldn't see me. So I did not have the opportunity to put their heartbeat against mine. I did not have the opportunity to whisper, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. And when I left there, she gave me this picture. She said, this is the last piece of communication you'll get from us. This is a closed adoption. From there, I went 19 years, okay, and still, no. We're not ill yet, wait a minute, we keep standing by. For 19 years, I lived in the streets, eating out of a trash can, prostituting, being told and treated by the systems of care that there was just no hope for Tonier Cain. For almost 20 years underneath the bridge, 20 years of not being able to get services to help me. I put this one in for 2 reasons. Yeah, there it is. But 19 years living on the street as a crack addict, I had really nice teeth, right? Wherever I went, I still had to have that toothbrush. When we was getting the footage for the film about my life and they went underneath the bridge, my toothpaste and toothbrush was still up there. I always had to brush my teeth no matter what. When I get pat down by a police officer, they'd be like, is that a weapon? I was like, no, sir, that's my toothbrush. They were always getting kicked that I carried around a toothbrush. I always still tried to get that smell away. And it's out of all of my mugshots, it's the only one that I was distressed. 15 years ago, I'm in prison again. And I'm pregnant again. And I'm terrified I'm about to lose another baby, and I just don't know what to do. Something dropped in my spirit, and it was like, if all else failed, why not look up to God? And I laid on that concrete floor in my prison cell. I don't call it a prayer, but it was an eerie cry of desperation to God. I said, God, I don't even know if you listen to people like me, but if you do, please help me. Please don't let them take this child. And not long after that eerie cry of desperation to God, I found out about a program called Tamar's Children. They said it was going to help me with my trauma. Well, I got everything else. I guess they got that too. But although I thought trauma was when you get hit by a car and come back from war. I know I ain't the only person here was thinking like that neither, right? The first time I met Dr. Joan Valise, when she came down, was scouting out pregnant program, and she ran across me and said, what about her? It's the first time somebody ever seen me and looked at me and seen something other than the crackhead prostitute that all people could see from me. So I signed up for this program, and it came back stamped ineligible, because you had to be eligible for parole to go. And I happened to be in prison for violation of parole. They really don't want to have that conversation. But the Tamar team, they came to say hi to me, even though the warden said, no, she's going to stay here and do her time. And they said, you don't have enough time anyway, Tonier. You have to have at least 18 months, no more, to do a year's parole or probation to us. And I said, well, the warden said, no. I said, well, wait a minute, I have to go to court for one more charge. What if I actually go to court and ask the judge for more time? They took that back to the warden, and the warden said, if she actually go into the courtroom and ask the judge for more time, I'm going to find a way personally for her to go to this program. So the night before court, I'm all excited because I can't wait. I want to give me some time. The next one, they said, court ladies, I was already up and dressed. And before they put me on the court van, they handcuffed me to another young lady. And while we was on the van, she had my arms stretched out like this. Because you know, when we go court from prison, we become very religious people. So the whole time she was in prayer mode, the whole van was jumping in gospel. Everybody on the van was singing, Jesus, hallelujah. The same people that cussed me out the night before, but I was like, do you, boo, do you? Everybody had a rosary on. Wasn't nobody Catholic on the whole van. Didn't nobody even know what the rosary was for. I did not hear one Hail Mary. I did not. And thank God for those prison ministry people that give us our little pocket Bibles for court. So everybody got their pocket Bibles, they got their crosses on, and the van jumping in gospel. I'm like, I ain't got to do none of that. I'm going to get me some time. We get to the courthouse. I say, Deputy, who's the sitting judge today? When he yelled back who the judge was, I could have passed out. I've been trying to get in front of this judge for years because he do not like to give out time. When I need time, I get this man. Everybody giving high fives. I was like, Jesus, hallelujah. Let me get that cross real quick. Because I'm like you. I know how to pray the beads. I got the card. I know how to pray the beads. They give me the card. Read the card. Read the card. Because I was in my 8th month of pregnancy. And then I knew if I gave birth in prison, I would never get my daughter back. So I had no other choice but to go in front of the judge. He said, Miss Cain, you're here for CDF paraphernalia. They caught me with the crack pipe, not the drug, just the crack pipe. He said, how long you been in prison? I said, almost 4 months, John. He said, this is a waste of state's time and money. She can't pay. I'm just going to close the case because it's a finable offense of $500. I said, wait a minute, John, I need you to give me time. He said, Miss Cain, I don't know if you understand. I said, excuse me, sir, I do understand. If I'm a repeat offender, you can actually give me up to 2 years. He looked at the state shakes her head. I said, he must have went to the same school I went to too. So he allowed me to go. He gave me the 2 years that I asked for. And the warden kept her word, and she sent me to the program. And when I walked through the door and said, Tamar children, somebody greeted me at the door and said, I'm so glad you're here. Did I really think that these people could help me at this point in my life? No, I had 31 failed treatments. What I was thinking, the only reason I want to go is they said you get to keep your baby with you. And I was thinking, if only I can hold on to this one more than 3 hours, things may be different. So we started to talk about all the trauma that happened in my life, all the sexual abuse, the mental health, everything. You know, the neglect, the abandonment, the mental, the physical abuse. It just went on and on, losing my children. We talked about all these things. I had a very hard time talking about my children because it was still something I woke up every day not knowing where they were. If I passed them in the streets, I wouldn't know it. I said, how do you heal from that? They said, you do. You just don't do it by yourself. So I was able to heal through that process in this trauma-informed program. See, the people always over 19 years, like such as yourself, try to give me bits and pieces of information. I seen the poster. Remember that poster, this is your brain on drugs, that commercial? I was a homeless crack addict. When I seen that commercial, I wanted an egg sandwich. Really? And remember how fresh the egg looked and the butter? Really? So the bits and pieces of information I was getting from you guys would only get surfaced. I had so much trauma, so much pain tucked inside. The bits and pieces couldn't penetrate any of that to get it rooted so I can build a foundation so my belief system would change from I am nothing to I am somebody and I can be anything I want in this world. It is when my belief system changed that my thought process changed. And I started to make the best decisions in my life. Then the best decision I ever made in my life was to go through a 1-year course, and guess what? How to be a mother. Yeah. Because if you don't know, you just don't know. My learned experiences from my mother, so I had to learn how to be loving and nurtured to form a secure attachment with my child. Do you know I have never heard those 2 words together until my last pregnancy, secure attachment? And I can tell you, my daughter has a secure attachment. She used to travel with me everywhere as I go, and she only travels with me on breaks now. And she just said, Mommy, just don't forget my special surprise. Yeah, I spend a fortune in guilt gifts, I do. And I remember the moment that I realized that things may have changed for me. I was playing with my daughter one day, and still in the program, and somebody snapped a picture of me playing for my daughter, and they gave it to me, and I seen my daughter smile. And I seen the smile, and I knew that I was heading in the right direction. It's been 15 years since I had the desire to use drugs, alcohol, or even smoke a cigarette. 15 years without no desire. 15 years since somebody treated my trauma. I had not had a need of medication. Now, I'm not saying people don't need medication. Do not go around and say, Tonier said I don't need you to take my psychotropics. No, but for me and a lot of people that experience trauma, all those things they were trying were just symptoms of my trauma, because since my trauma has been properly identified, addressed, and treated, I have not had the desire to use drugs, nor have I even though I do have some girlfriends who are like, girl, you might want to rethink that thing from time to time. You might want to get yourself a little pilly pill every once in a while. But I have not needed medication. In 2005, I graduated the program. In 2007, I built my first home. You see where I'm going with this. They treated my trauma with the hope that's out their system, and it worked. But I also wondered, did they realize that treating my trauma was going to break their generational cycle and my family. See, my daughter doesn't know what it's like to be hungry, not to be loved, not to have not to have security at home. She doesn't know what it's like not to have stability. So she'll maybe give her kids what she'll be giving them, so on and so forth. So from here on out, we look at a whole different generational path. In other words, the cycle has been broken. I remember when I moved out of the program, I got my little first apartment with my daughter after 19 years of homelessness. 19 years of homelessness, I didn't know how to pay bills. They told me that I had to pay BGE. I thought it was a drug dealer. I thought it was a drug dealer that, apparently, it was Baltimore Gas and Electric Company. But how do you know that when you was a drug addict for so many years and they're homeless? So I had to learn how to form a budget on a welfare check. Somebody taught me how to budget that. And because of that, I was able to form a business. Today, I own 4 companies. I'm an award-winning filmmaker. I travel the world. I'm known in over 100 countries for my work. I travel the world constantly to reminding people, helping people to understand their trauma, how trauma impacts the individual. From jail to Yale, there was me giving a lecture at Yale Law School. Training providers across the country. I'm an author. My second book is coming out. It's about to hit the stand, called Relationships After Trauma. Talking about how difficult it is to maintain, to actually develop healthy relationships after trauma, to live on day to day, live out day to day with trauma and trigger. So it's a guidebook for survivors, how to go through the day. So look for that book. My daughter was given an award last year. It's a humanities award, and she came in second place in the state of Maryland. Out of 1,800 submissions, she came in second place. They actually gave her a cash award. I get awards with never cash awards. One of the most difficult things I ever did was get married. I don't like being married most of the time. I really don't. Because I'm triggered often. It takes work to be married when you're a survivor of sexual abuse and domestic violence. So it takes work. And this man has to be rejected over and over again until I can find a healthy tool. I've been married for only 3 years, but I've been a trauma survivor all my life. So I'm developing tools to help me to self-soothe, self-regulate when I feel triggered, even in my marriage, even with intercourse and so forth. So what if at age 9 somebody treated my trauma just like they did 15 years ago? And I wasn't able to embrace trauma treatment just like I did 15 years ago. Isn't it possible that this child could become this woman? This is Merlin Mosby, the Baltimore attorney. State's attorney gave me an award for the work that I've been doing in Baltimore City. You know, when you get something from the state's attorney and don't have indictment on it, you know you made it, right? This is me in Belize, Georgia. Not the state Georgia, but the country Georgia, right up above Turkey on the Black Sea. I went there to present in front of 60 dignitaries from around the world on the need for free legal aid around the world, making sure that everybody get the adequate legal aid in the criminal justice systems around the world. 3 of my 4 kids have returned back into my life. My youngest son gave me away at my wedding. I have one more question to ask you. If this woman, was yet again in your system, in your program, on your caseload, 83 arrests, 66 convictions, 19 years of homelessness, lost all her kids. I know you work with children, but they have parents, right? And you see them over and over again, no progress, nothing. It just gets worse and worse. My question to you, seriously, would you be able to look at her like this and even imagine me today? Truthfully, do we truly believe in the people that we serve? If you don't believe in them, how can you expect them to? You don't have the right to deem somebody hopeless. Please don't give yourself that. That is not your right. Okay. So would you be able to see that person be this person, Hollywood, red carpet, ready to receive an award in Hollywood. One more thing. When I started to feel safe, I started to heal. When I started to heal, I felt empowered. I had an opportunity to finally understand that I had strength instead of people telling me about all my weaknesses. And when I could start to see my progress, I got excited. My pilot was lit, and I was motivated to have a healthy relationship to be the person I am today. No matter what, always believe where there's breath, there's hope. Thank you.
Tell me your Cain, everybody. Tell me your Cain.